Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make what I'm calling Maid of Honour tarts. Now, Maid of Honour tarts are something which were created in the 1500s apparently for King Henry VIII, and they were a pastry filled with cheese curds and I guess some other things, and then baked. He loved them and they were made. Since then they've carried on being done with slight variations. Now, when I read up on these, I saw most recipes used puff pastry, and those which claim to be the original Maid of Honour tarts, made in Richmond in Surrey, they use puff pastry. But I've also done some research on puff pastry, and I don't think it was even invented in the 1500s. The first recorded version of puff pastry from Spain was in the 17th century. But anyway, that doesn't matter, because I'm not using puff pastry, I'm using short crust pastry. I think that's better for this type of tart. Puff pastry, if baked with a wet filling, often doesn't really bake very well on the bottom, so I'm going to use short crust pastry. And for my filling, rather than using the cheese curds, I'm going to use some cream cheese and some almonds, and I'm going to flavour it with lemon and some lemon curd. And so you can call them what you want. I'm calling them Maid of Honour tarts, but they're quite simple to make, but they do take a little bit of time because there's a few steps involved. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and for the pastry I have 150 grams, which is 1 cup, based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. And then I have 8 grams, 1 tablespoon of icing sugar, and I also have the yolk from 1 medium egg, that would be large in the USA, and I have 85 grams, 6 tablespoons of butter, which I've cubed, but I've just taken that out of the fridge now. And then for the filling, I have 25 grams, 2 tablespoons minus half a teaspoon of butter. I have 100 grams, 7 tablespoons of cream cheese. I have 125 grams, 10 tablespoons of caster sugar. I have the zest from 1 lemon. In fact, I've used 1.5 lemons, but the zest from 1 lemon would be good enough. Then I have 1 tablespoon, 9 grams of plain flour, and into that I've put about 1/4 teaspoon, a good pinch of salt. I have 75 grams, 3/4 cup of ground almonds. The yolks from 2 medium eggs, again they would be large in the USA. I have 15 millilitres, 1 tablespoon of milk, 30 millilitres, 2 tablespoons of lemon curd. So that's all the ingredients, and the first thing I'm going to do is to make the pastry. Now, I should say that I'm going to be using these little tart tins for mine, but you can do them in this sort of bun tin, and if you don't have a bun tin, the base here is the same diameter as a muffin tin, so you could use a muffin tin but only line the bottom and a little way up the sides of the muffin tin. That would work just as well. So for the pastry, I'm going to do that in my immersion blender processor bowl. That's the quickest way to do it. So I'll put my flour in, and I'll put the icing sugar in, and I'll just give that a bit of a stir around, and then I'll put the butter in as well. And I'm going to toss that just to coat that in the dry ingredients. And I'm going to pulse that until it forms a fine breadcrumb-like texture, or a coarse sand texture. And that's good enough like that. So then I'm going to put my egg yolk in, and I'm going to mix it again until it begins to clump together. And that's clumping together quite nicely now, so that's ready to use. So I'm going to tip that out onto my work surface. So with the mixture tipped out, I'm just going to squeeze that together to form it into a dough. And then I'm going to roll it out, and I'll flour my surface lightly. And I'm going to roll it out to the thickness of about 3 millimeters, which is about 1/8 of an inch. And then with that rolled out, I'm going to cut out some rounds, and I'm using a 3.5 inch cookie cutter, and then I will carefully pick up the rounds and drop it into my tart case. And if it cracks or breaks, it doesn't matter, you can patch it. This pastry is very forgiving. So that's good like that, and I'll do the same with the remainder, re-rolling the pastry as necessary. I've rolled my pastry out and filled the tins, and I decided I would do 6 in the bun tin as well. So there's the 6 in the little tart tins and the 6 in the bun tin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lemon curd, and I'm going to take about half a teaspoon, no more, and I'm going to put it in to the bottom. And then I'm going to put that into the fridge, and I'm going to allow that pastry to chill as I preheat my oven to 200 Celsius, that's 180 Celsius with a fan, 400 Fahrenheit. And as that's preheating, we'll go on to make the filling. So for the filling, I'm going to put the cream cheese and the butter and about half of the sugar into the bowl, and I'm going to cream those together. Now you can do it by hand, but I'm going to use my hand mixer. So that's good like that. That's all you need to do. And then I'm going to add the egg yolks. And the remaining sugar. And the lemon zest. And the plain flour and pinch of salt. And I'm going to mix those together just on a low speed. And then I'm going to add the almonds in and mix it again. And if it's too stiff, I will add the milk. If not, I'll leave the milk out. That's good, that's easily mixed. So I'll just stir that around, make sure we've gone right to the bottom. And that's then ready to spoon into our pastry cases as soon as the oven has come up to temperature. I've taken my pastry cases with the lemon curd out of the fridge, and I'm simply going to divide the mixture into each of the cases. And so there they are filled. I have a very little bit of the mixture left over, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those into the oven, and I'm going to bake them for between 25 and 30 minutes until the pastry cooks, and I can see it's cooked on the outside, and the filling rises up and cooks and colours on the top. It should be quite firm to the touch. A little bit springy but firm to the touch. So then I'll take them out of the oven and I'll leave them to cool down in the tins for a few minutes. Then I'll transfer them to a wire rack and I'll come back and show you the results. I baked the Maids of Honour for 30 minutes and I took them out of the oven. I allowed them to cool down for a few minutes, then I took them out of the cake pans or tart tins, and then as they cooled down I sprinkled a little bit of icing sugar over a few of them. That's often how they're served. So this is what they look like. This is the one that was in the mini Tarts tin with the serrated edge, and these are the ones that were in the bun tin. So I haven't tasted them yet, so I break this one in half. It's nice and soft inside. That is very, very good. The lemon comes through perfectly from the lemon curd. Yes, the pastry is very well cooked. I like those a lot. Now I'm quite sure they're not the same or even similar to what Henry VIII may have eaten a few years ago. But these are maybe similar to what are generally known as Maid of Honour tarts these days. So I've enjoyed making them. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the video, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, which will take you to my blog, and I'll put a link for the recipe below this video as well, so you can click there and go straight to it. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.